Well, good morning and welcome to the Shifting Realities podcast. I'm your host, Julie Allison, and with me, as always, is my co host and friend, Robert Perry. In today's podcast, we're going to look and discuss at how your life is like looking in a mirror. And what do we mean by that? So it's how you create that reflection that's looking back at you. So, what is the reflection in your life? What is going on the outside? And what I want to add to this now, going into the discussion, is, for instance, let's take relationships in any form whatsoever. What we might want to do is say, this bad thing happened between me and somebody else in this relationship, and it could be something personal, it could be work-wise. Very recently, I've had we've both had some problems with workmen. Me and my husband have had problems with workmen. Bless their cotton socks. So instead, what we've been doing is, they've been doing that, the workmen have been doing that, they're in the wrong here, we're still reeling from it, and this is only a week ago. So if something's just happened a week ago, it's okay to be reeling about it. But what we really need to do is go, hang on a minute. If life is like a mirror and something's reflecting back at me, what am I giving off to get this back? So what I mean by that is, our beautiful bodies have this beautiful, unique signal that goes off, electromagnetic signal. But what happens is, from that original beautiful signal that we have, it gets distorted along the way. So our DNA picks up all sorts of distortions. And I've just been talking about the problem with workmen, and I spoke to a family member about that, and this family member went, "Oh yes, we always have problems with workmen." So I think from that, wow, it's a family heirloom I've inherited. Wow, that's what I'm looking at in the mirror. That's what I'm reflecting. So that's what my electromagnetic signal is giving out. So, what we're going to do today is tell you a little bit about even how to change that reflection by looking on the inside. But what another analogy I can do about the mirror, just to allow you to understand this a bit more, is if you're actually looking at a mirror, you're looking in a mirror at yourself. And, for some people, it might be, do you know, I need to brush my hair. Oh my goodness, I need to brush my hair. Or, oh, I need some makeup on. Now, you don't go to the mirror and start brushing the mirror or putting the makeup on the mirror. It's not the mirror's fault that your hair needs brushing. You have to change yourself. So you brush, you take the hairbrush up and you brush your hair yourself, or you put your makeup on yourself, or for men you might do a tie yourself or whatever. So you're not trying to change the mirror. You're not trying to change the reflection. So you see how in life, you never need to be trying to change the outside. We already know how bad that feels, how heavy that feels, what a distortion that is. Only serves to make us more anxious, serves to feel the weight of the world on our shoulders. So instead, we start looking inwards, looking on the inside. Have you got anything to add to that, Rob?
I think, yeah, the whole mirror analogy is really interesting and I think
Mm.
very pertinent when you're on a kind of spiritual journey. Because let's not say most of us, I think all of us, if we look in a literal mirror, yes, we see ourselves, obviously, because the mirror can't lie to us.
Mm.
But what we tend to see is what we think people think of us.
Mm.
So we don't, in fact, see ourselves. We see a projection of ourselves as we have been conditioned to think. So if someone, when you were little, said, "Oh, your ears are too big," or if someone in your middle years said, "Oh, you've put on a bit of weight," or someone has said, "I think your attitude's bad," depending on the mirror you're looking in, that is what you're going to see until you go back inside yourself and discover that the reflection in front of you is, in fact, the purest reflection of you.
Mhm.
You just have to learn to see it. So it's back to that old thing, Julie, of going back inside yourself to find your true self and projecting that back out. Until you learn to shed all the processing of life that allows us to think we're inadequate in so many ways and can't do this and look like that and shouldn't do that and are a failure, whatever people have pointed at us at some point and said, we carry that like this enormous pile of bricks on our head. And we have to start losing it because it's not true. Yeah. We will have done things in our lives that we should be sorry for or regret or have maybe apologized for. And, you know, if you're carrying that kind of burden with you as you look in your mirror, then you need to allow that to go because it's serving nobody. It's not serving you. It's not serving the person you may have been unkind to, perhaps unwittingly. It's just this great big negative energy dump in the matrix, which is causing havoc with you, havoc with them, and havoc sort of down the line wherever it decides to buzz and latch on. So I'm moving away from the mirror a bit, I know. But it is for me about looking at your true self and not looking at a version of yourself. There are multiple versions of yourself and they're all true. So we need to stay close. That inner flame that burns inside you, your soul, that's what you have to project out. And you need to practice looking at it and going, thank you for being there. And for me being me, because that's enough.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect, perfect way of explaining it, Rob. And another way, I think that's amazing. And, to add to that as well, what we do here is one thing when you start looking within, when you're not looking just at the reflection, what I would call it is move away from the 3D of somebody did that to me, somebody, this happened to me, is, as Rob said, when you start when you start looking inward and you really want to become very neutral about what's happened. So even for me, something happened last week. I just then, after I've been reeling about it, that's okay, just get it out of my system. And now I'm starting to look very neutral at it. And what can happen here when you work inwards, put a different perspective on things and work neutral, and this is what Rob was saying in a slightly different way. What happens then is it might actually stir up lots of memories about something really random. So the first thing you do is just be aware that you're actually in a pattern in this. So as I said before, something about just happens to be workmen. And a family member said, oh yes, have a problem with workmen. What the first thing to do here is go, I'm aware now. I'm aware that I'm in a pattern and I need to change that that viewpoint about this. All it is a pattern, and as Rob said, you're projecting out that pattern and it's reflecting back to you. So what happened to me yesterday, this random memory was just raised out of my subconscious. It's like having opening that filing cabinet in the depths of the cellar, depths of a basement, opening it up and going, here you are, Julie. It's like your soul and your subconscious goes, throw it up. Here you are, Julie. Think about this memory. This needs healing. But what you actually do to start off with is you think of a memory, and this was just something, it wasn't even about workmen, but it was something around everything to do with relationships, finding your tribe, money, and what I was expecting with my money. So it just came up. It feels totally different. I don't even know why this memory came up at the time, and now I do. And so this memory was all about, there was one thing about, I didn't feel quite involved. I paid a lot of money every month at the time for a marketing course. And then somebody basically, knowing I do massage, somebody said, oh, I'm going to somebody, one of the trainers went, oh, I'm going off to somebody else, it was somebody else to have the massage. And I kind of looked, and if that's to do with somebody preferring somebody else than me to do a massage, I have absolutely no issue. I certainly don't now, because everybody likes somebody else. It's like having your own hairdresser. You just like your own hairdresser. You don't always want to go to everybody in the dog. But they mentioned this was because they don't really know about what I was doing, and it was to do with, the way I marketed it. And I'm sat there at the time. I remember these memories of being sat there as a time, being stunned, going, but I'm paying you a lot of money to do the marketing? What is going on here? So you see how you can get into so many issues of why did they do this? Why did they do that? And then in my head, so I wasn't neutral at the time yesterday. So in my head, I'm going, I wish I'd said this to them. I should have said this to them. So that's okay, because what I was doing was changing the script. You can't change what's happened. It's, stamped, in time, space continuum, it's a stamp. But what you can do is start to change. Instead of thinking I should have said this to them then, at that point in time, why don't I do something like behave slightly differently now? And this is not about saying I should be doing this now, I should be chowing at people now. No, it's what Rob was saying about earlier. It's just have a think about, well, what is it I'm projecting? What should I be projecting? And should's a horrible word, but I can't think of any other word to say. But what is it I should be, my signal should be giving out? And it shouldn't be just something like a people pleaser. It shouldn't be somebody who just dare say something about it and allow something to fester inside. Allow yourself to go home and fester inside. And it's not about creating discord. It's not about creating an argument. It's just saying something to enable you to understand where things are going wrong for you at that time, in order to release it at the time. I've now got to this thing that happened, this memory that came up, happened 12 years ago. It does not need to sit in my body 12 years on. 12 years on has made this thing that happened last week happen, because it's the same patterning going on about paying somebody something. I mean, it doesn't have to be involved in money, but you're asking somebody to do something and it doesn't happen. So I need to remove myself from that and start to release it by just starting to, allow myself to, like Rob said, just say sorry to myself. Just say, oh, sorry. I need to think a little bit differently. I just need to rewrite the script, as we mentioned last time. I'll just rewrite the script next time. Just really release this, let it go, and don't keep thinking and digging up this memory. Can you see how either yourself or other people could have brought old memories up from what's happened last week, and all you're doing is bringing the old patterns, the same pattern up, and you don't change a pattern, you just allow that memory to continue festering. And by allowing yourself to go, they should have done this, I wish they'd done that, you're actually expanding and making it bigger. But what the memories are coming up for instead, just watch out for this, is to allow you to just let go, to just allow it to let go and release. So have you got anything else to add, Rob?
Yeah, you could go in any single direction from this and find something valid to talk about.
Yeah.
And the universe will give us a mirror when we need it.
Yes.
Always. And sometimes you go, oh, I get that. And other times it will go straight over your head. You won't be receptive to it. You can watch a film and someone will say something in that film that makes you go, oof, I get that.
Yeah. Trigger you.
So you recognize this patterning. You can be in a theater and have the same experience, or a concert hall and have some kind of vibrational experience that releases something in you. But that patterning, we all carry patterning. It's unavoidable, I think. Even with hard work, it's hard to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I can recall when I was 4 or 5, I had a girlfriend called Janet, who lived with her granny up the street, and we used to watch Andy Pandy on a Wednesday afternoon together. That was our date. And the ice cream van came around just before. But then a little boy who was our age called Philip moved in next door to her, and she became friends with Philip, and I was devastated. And then we moved country, and that was the end of Janet. But I can trace back my own insecurity in relationships to that moment when I was at the most 5.
Yes, yes.
And I can look at it now and go, oh, how absolutely silly that was. But that's taken me 50 years of work.
Yes.
And more to accept that had no real implication on my reflection. But it colored my reflection for all those years.
Yeah.
The silliest thing.
It does.
Trauma stays with us forever.
Yes.
And it's so unbelievably damaging. It's hard to explain it. Whether it's bad trauma, whether something really awful happens to you, perhaps you are bullied at school, which is
Hmm.
a far worse trauma than I think that many people realize. You were bullied at school. I was
I was
bullied at
bullied. Yeah,
school.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
that trauma lived with me in some degree or other until I reconnected with those school colleagues.
Mm.
It was actually our 40th anniversary of leaving school, and there was a
Oh,
reunion.
wow.
And suddenly I was talking to people who had been horrific to me
Mm.
as if they were old mates.
Yes.
They couldn't remember it
They will not remember it,
because it
will they,
meant
in the same
nothing to
way?
them. Yeah. One or
Yeah.
two did, oh, yeah, we used to nick your sandwiches and things.
And it's
And
all
it was just
light-hearted.
a laugh. And now we talk regularly like good friends.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I carried unnecessary trauma all those years,
Yes, yes.
but I had no mechanism to lose it.
No, we didn't know the
Yeah.
tools then, did we? We have
No,
tools now.
no.
Honestly, have some tools to just start releasing it, to just, as Rob said, just let it be light-hearted. Because you
Yeah.
see how Rob's perception of somebody pinching your sandwiches is totally different when they're your sandwiches
Yeah.
to the person who's done it, who probably just was doing it. It's peer pressure, isn't it? And it's they're
Absolutely.
light-hearted. They
Yeah.
don't have
But
the same
for,
feelings. Yeah.
all those years, I looked in my mirror
Mm.
and I saw this kid that they saw.
Mm,
I saw this
mm.
tall, gangly kid who was rubbish at sport, was quite quiet and introverted, a little bit weird. And I guess I'm hardly surprised.
Yes,
And
yes.
I would like to say that if the shoe had been on the other foot, I would have been different. I'm not sure I would.
Mm,
Not
mm.
at all sure. So that trauma stayed with me. And to some degree, that will have stayed with them in a manner of form.
Yes,
So although they might not remember it, it will have warped their reality just a little
yes,
bit, you know.
yes,
But the damage was essentially was on me.
yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
So, it's people laugh it off, I think, quite easily. But you do carry all this baggage from your birth onwards, and difficult births can cause trauma that you
Yes,
don't lose because
definitely.
your
Mm,
consciousness is too small to comprehend what's
yeah,
happening.
yeah.
And there are a lot of good people out there who will rebirth
Mm-hmm.
and allow you
Yeah,
to heal that process
yeah,
and carry on.
definitely.
So nobody should ever feel that they are doing anything wrong or bad or
Mm,
are a failure in any which way.
mm,
So,
mm.
back to looking in the mirror and seeing your true self.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
hard work, but it's so well worth it.
Yes. To
You
use
know?
the yeah, to use we'll call them tools, to use this,
Yeah.
the tools, just the absolute letting go, just
Yeah.
not letting that, if the memories come up, not letting them fester and not letting them get bigger by
Yeah.
just continuing in those memories. Because what are this, how are they serving you? This is why people are in, might be in pain, might be, sort of health wise,
Yeah.
etc. We'll go too much into that because we've talked about it before, but that's how it can fester in your body.
Yeah.
And so why would we need to keep it? Yeah, with my experience of bullying, it wasn't as bad as some people do now. I mean, we didn't have we didn't have mobile phones to
Mm.
have to have cyberbullying or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it was more to do, with let's say a so-called friend, how I would see it and how I would perceive it at the time. It's literally where they took a lot of friends off me, so I felt very alone
Mm.
there. Now I understand that part of, feeling alone is part of our kind of starseed journey, is that
Yeah.
we wouldn't feel part of a tribe until we start seeing other starseeds that are from our constellations and the starseeds that we're meant to work with, etc. We know that now. It's taken, the thing with that is it was never meant to happen until now. So it's taken the best part of 30, 40 years
Mm-hmm.
for us, a lot of us, to do that. But now I know that, I just think, oh yeah, that's why I had to experience being
Yeah.
the odd one out and being left out. So
Yeah.
I can understand that. But what happened at the time, like you, Rob, it just, for me, it carried on. That bullying carried on. And early years at work, I'd go into a job and absolutely love my work. And then towards the end of that job, when I knew I needed to keep changing, something would come up where new people would come in, particularly in the NHS. There was a lot, there's quite a bit of bullying suddenly going on, a bit strange, sort of, I'm going to say strange people, and I can't, that you can feel that's still festering, but it isn't, because that memory still came up even a couple of years ago for me. And again, that memory coming up it was triggering me, etc. And I thought, hang on a minute, That's not for me to trigger. That's for me just to release. Another one, just to release and just let that go and just, forgive and just know that that person was only reflecting. So this is where just treat it as a beautiful gift. So if the patterning's happening, treat it as a beautiful gift, that reflection in the mirror, to allow you to release it. That is all it is doing. That's all your body, all your subconscious mind digging up these deep these deep wounds, if you like. Just be aware of them. Number one, be aware. And number two, just allow yourself. It can be a process. There are certain ways of doing it. Actually, a lot of people have different ways of doing it. Like Rob, I actually process through it. So I might sit for 10 minutes going, okay, what's going on here? So this thing that this memory that came up yesterday, by the evening I was processing it, but it's still coming, things are still coming up today, actually. So I know I'll be processing it for a week until the thing that happened last week can just be released as well. So people are going to handle it in a different way. So when I think about bullying now, it's never happened for the last 20 years, I don't think. Maybe something really odd where I go, hang on a minute, what's going on here? But nothing else. And when you treat it as a pure gift, and your soul, knowing your soul may have corded and contracted and gone in, I'll work with this person who's going to bully me, Julie, we're going to bully this human vessel so that Julie can allow herself to understand what's happened, experience this, and just release it and walk away from it. And
Absolutely.
that, when you know that, it's like, oh, right, okay then.
Totally. And a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about writing your own film script, and
Yeah.
reflecting back on my bullying at school changed my script.
Yes.
That
Yes.
to cope with it, I ended up in the school orchestra and in the school drama club. So I ended up on stage. I then studied drama, then I became an actor, and I spent the next 45 years of my life in the theatre. So that bullying gave me a career that I probably would not have had.
Yes.
So
Yes.
instead of just spinning the
Magical.
negative on that,
Yeah.
spin the positive of a completely phenomenal career that I have enjoyed
Oh,
and
I mean,
wouldn't
that's
change for anything.
wonderful.
So I don't know whether I wrote that script myself or whether just talking rewrote it for me while we were there.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
reflect on it now, and that is absolutely what happened.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
without it,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that.
That's
Yeah,
exactly it. That's exactly what it's, you think of
yeah,
all the positive things. Yeah, it's amazing when you think how we think something bad's happened, but what it does, it lets us, a bit like the phoenix rising. I won't go into
yeah,
that, but, it's a bit like that. You end up, a lot of good can come from that. Yeah, the same things have happened in my life, getting made redundant, leaving these jobs when they've started to go a bit wrong.
yeah,
It's the universe going, right, you need to, your soul going, right, Julie, you need to change now. We need to pivot and change. And every time it's been for the best. It's been the best thing and helped you
yeah,
grow. All of this, the lessons are not about the experience of the trauma, the lessons about how you grow from it, the lessons about how you transcend from that trauma to, again, I think sort of living one of the best lives ever.
for
So
sure.
there's still way to go because I want more. And, just as a human being does, don't they? Which is lovely, just lovely to want more. That's why Rob and I are doing this, sharing this with everybody. But yeah, our lives would not be the same without, that bit of trauma, as long as you allow yourself that, to know that it's that gift. Give yourself that different perspective, that it's there as a gift for you to release it and move forward and grow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Yes,
a
I think
lot on
that's,
reflection.
yeah, a
Yeah,
lot to reflect
we
about,
all
as
go
they
away
say with
now
the
and we can
mirror.
self-reflect, can't we?
So reflecting that
Yeah,
mirror, so
yeah,
what is that mirror? We'll just leave you with, what is that mirror telling yourself? Just, go away. You
yeah.
just have, I would advise you just to go and sit. If something recent happened that feels like a bit of a trauma, just go away and sit and ask. Just ask yourself, and your higher self will come through. As if you allow yourself to move beyond the 3D, I've got to sort out this, I've got to take this action and do this, without doing the just sitting back, going into a neutral space and going, okay, universe, why has this happened? without doing that, you'd just be continuing in that trauma. But just sit back, ask the universe, and all will be revealed. Even if it's a process, all will be revealed to you. The
Absolutely.
answer to every solution is always within. When you know that, you can ask within at any time.
Go within.
Lovely. Yeah, lovely. So with that, we'll say goodbye for today, and we'll see you next week. Bye
Bye,
for
everyone.
now.